This is an interview with U5 Sergeant Daniel Ribiero. Mr. Ribiero was born on August 31st, 1984 in Phoenix, Arizona. Mr. Ribiero served from August 15th, 2005 to February 10th, 2010 in Iraq. Mr. Ribiero achieved the rank of U.S. Sergeant. This interview is being done on November 19th, 2013 in Da Vinci High School. This interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress as part of Da Vinci High School's America at War project. Okay, just to start, we just want to know like your life story up until you joined the war. So like where you were, where you're from, like if you moved around, your family, just all of that.
Okay, well, generally I guess I was born in Phoenix, but at the age of like 1 year old I moved to California. My parents were together for until I was about 5 years old. They got a divorce. I grew up in Los Banos, California, which is about 2 hours south. I don't know if that's sad or not, but it was a small town, about 20,000 people. It was a good experience, just not a lot of things to do. So, I ended up kind of getting into a little bit of trouble here and there, running with the wrong crowd, not a lot of things to do, kind of leads you to that. And eventually, after about 20 years old, I decided I wanted to join the Army and make my family proud because I wanted to start that next level. And during the time, they were really pushing for soldiers, and I was excited to go. I really wanted the excitement in my life, a chance to excel.
All right, so do you have any other family members that have served in the military that you know of?
Yeah, my grandfather was in the Army, my grandmother was in the Army, my uncle was in the Army, and my aunt was in the Navy.
So were there any like specific reasons for choosing the branch of service that you chose?
Well, in the Army you can choose which job you want. So the Marines, you go to boot camp, and they from my understanding, you go to boot camp and they tell you where they want you to go. Well, I knew what I wanted to do. There were certain jobs, and one of them was to be in the infantry. And so in the Army they allow you to choose those jobs.
All right. And when did you leave for training camp?
I left, it was 15th of August maybe, something just around there.
Like how long did it go on for?
I graduated from basic training the 22nd of, I believe, maybe the 12th or the 22nd of December. It's kind of foggy.
Mm-hmm. What were your experiences in training camp?
Well, going in, I wasn't very strong. I was, mentally I had, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think that, between 18 and 20 was a tough age for me. So I would say that my subconscious was very strong more than my conscious, and going into basic training, they really drove how to become in the moment, how to build up your consciousness. They break you down. They say you go in with an attitude, kind of like whatever, I'm special, I got this. And one of the things they tell you, you're not special. You're not. Don't think that you're gonna get some milk and cookies. You're not a special flower. You're just like everybody else. And as soon as you start understanding that, everything's gonna go a lot easier. So it made me, it made me fit in. It made me feel like I had to excel on my own levels, and really just become strong consciously, so I could get the things done when they asked me to do them immediately. And I didn't have time to think about, all the other stuff, I guess.
Was it like physically demanding? Like, what did they like have you do there?
Yeah, it was very physically demanding. I think I went in being able to do maybe like 15 or 20 push-ups, and I could run. Everyone kind of in decent shape. I was in decent shape when I was in high school, but not the kind of shape that they demanded. It wasn't as hard for me as some other people to get into the shape that demanded, but it was just very motivating. It was very self-motivating. they give you a certain standard that you must pass,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty soon it becomes like you're with your peers. You're all trying to get to that point. It becomes it's like a test, but very motivating test that everybody's in on, and everybody loves it, and you all pushing each other. And it was a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
It taught you a lot of teamwork and a lot of self-control.
Was it hard to adapt to being in the service, food, living conditions, social life, physical and mental regime?
To adapt. Adaptability was a big thing. Some people were able to adapt better than others. For me, I was able to adapt okay. I think that my personality kind of allowed me to adapt to something because I was very malleable at the time. Like say when you're younger, you're not really sure. You're kind of like, well, So when some strong people come along, like the drill sergeants were, very like they knew everything, and you believed them. They help you to my way or the highway, basically. So you kind of surrender what your beliefs are, and you just go with theirs. And I was able to adapt to it well. It's nice to feel like you're a part of that group and you fit in, and everything makes sense for once, And physically, it was rough marches and push-ups, but they get you ready for it. Every day is a challenge. Every day they push you a little bit more. They have a well-regimented schedule and understanding of what you can and cannot take for the most part. Some people fall outside of that. They're outliers. They're not strong enough mentally or physically, and they're not able to really adjust. But for the most part, most people are. And I think the infantry, we were at the little bit more of an edgier tier compared to the rest of the jobs that are in the Army. So we were pushed a little bit harder, but we all helped each other, and we all worked together, and we all wanted to be there for the most part. So it was a good experience, and most of us adjusted well.
Was it a big change from your daily life at home or before? Or had you ever experienced anything relating to what you experienced while you were in training camp?
Well, it was similar to some things, but not as similar to other things. The best example I could use was like wrestling. I guess when I was in high school, I was in wrestling, and they kind of like take you through some physical stuff and try to train you, and you're carrying people and doing drills, and it's kind of that same kind of concept, I guess. You're carrying people and you're doing drills. There is quite a difference though. The mental, it pushes you mentally. There are points where I'm standing in line behind people like. Let me take this back. When you're in high school, you get like, for me, I had a lot of aggression. I was like, the world doesn't make sense. People are, why are people this way? Everything, I don't understand things. The government, all this crazy stuff. So when I got in there, there was a lot of aggression and stuff, and they push you, and they tell you what to do all the time. You're getting frustrated, and you're just like, I hate all this. It's all so stupid. Why did I do this? And they make you stand in line behind everybody. Like they call it like you gotta be nut to butt to everybody. So like just basically standing like this, like right behind somebody, like right here, waiting to go into the chow hall to go eat. And so it's not it's not a fun experience, especially when you're doing it every day for months and months. So sometimes you're looking at the person in front of you like, man, I hate this guy, and he could be your best friend. You're just like, nah, this guy's. I hang out with this guy every day. He's always scoring me away. Always making sure that I got all my stuff together. Because sometimes you're like, oh, my stuff's not folded right, or the drill sergeant's yelling at you. You got that one buddy who's like, hey man, I helped you out. You look at him, because you're just so frustrated. You're just like, hey, I just want to choke you right now. I just want to choke you. So eventually what happens is through so many times of that, you kind of become disciplined, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to choke this person. Like, I don't need to. Like, I like this person. What am I doing? You get control. That's kind of like what the mental discipline is. So,
Did you understand the Iraq conflict before you joined the Army?
Did I understand the Iraq conflict? I mean, to a certain extent, what the media tells you don't. How much do we really know? I was over there, and there's only so much I know. I mean, there's only so much you think that the officers know above you. I didn't understand it as much as I did when I went down there, that's for sure. I mean, you kind of see what's going on. Most of it's fear. You're like, oh, wow, there's war going on over there. You don't really understand it, but you don't really want to go because you're afraid of getting killed. And you're like, oh no, what should I do? And as far as how it relates to me directly, I don't think that I understood it that well. Saddam Hussein was a bad guy. That's it.
Yeah. Like, did you have a specific political view on the war before going in, or?
Well, man, I mean, I was in high school. I was kind of a partying kid, So I mean, I guess I would have to say that I had a very liberal stance on things. As in I was like, yo, man, war sucks, dude, don't go. So. But those things change, I think, as you get older. I think eventually you realize you can't be wishy-washy forever. You have to make decisions on things.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Did you regret joining the service at first, during camp, or the first time you went into battle?
No, I never regretted joining the service. I was always real proud of it.
Mm-hmm. So you said earlier that at the time they were in need of soldiers. Was there a reason for that, and can you elaborate on that?
Well, I think they wanted to do the surge, which was they wanted to increase the amount of soldiers in Iraq, so that way they could try to close the gap between bases and where the enemy was hiding, and the more people you got in there, the less places there are to hide. There's more us fighting them, and we have we only usually engage when it's 1 to 3 kind of deal. If there's only one of us to 3 enemy, then we won't engage. But so the more people that we have, the more opportunities we have, and the more success we were probably looking at.
What did you witness during service? Did it change from when you got there to later on going up in ranks and whatnot?
Can you elaborate a little?
Yeah, when you joined, did you immediately go into combat, or did you ever go into combat? And as time progressed, did you go into more harder missions, or did you see anything while you were there that just sticks out in your head still?
Well, that's a funny question. So there was a lot of things, 4 years in the Army is it's a long time. You think 4 years in high school is a long time. I did. Now I feel high school experience was, this is the only reason I'm comparing it is because, to my audience here. And, so you go to basic training, right? And basic training is a complete life-changing experience. It's just totally different. Changes everything that you've been doing, every day. Your everyday routine right now, imagine it just being now you're going to do it this way. Everything you've ever known, it's no longer useful to you. You have nothing that to this point that's going to help you really, except for basically the core things. So from basic training to that, and then once I got to my unit, which was complete change even from basic training. It was way harder. You got your unit, you got everybody's yelling at you all the time. It's you're standing at parade rest which is basically like this. You know what I mean? At attention, both your hands behind your back kind of deal. You're standing there for maybe a half an hour to an hour just because you want to. What does that? How would anybody? Why? You know what I mean? Does that make sense to you? Maybe not. I don't know. But you're doing it just because you feel that discipline. But everybody's yelling at you. It's just a strict authoritarian, all the time. so you're trying to do your best, and you're trying to learn everything you can, and you're just the bottom of the barrel, and because everybody's telling you that things could be really bad. Things can, if you don't learn, like, no one's gonna be there. No one's gonna jump on that grenade for you or take that bullet for you if you mess up. Or if you mess up, the big thing is that you could get everybody killed. So everybody's telling you these things, and so you're afraid. So fear is a big thing. So you go from your daily life in high school or post high school, like I was, which was not very exciting, to being afraid all the time. Like a real fear, like feeling like if you don't do it right, then everybody around you is gonna get killed, and then you're never gonna be able to live from that. You know what I mean? I mean, come on. If you get your buddy killed because you messed up, that's something you have to live with for the rest of your life. It doesn't go away. It's not like, well, I can just blow it off. So the reason I'm being so general about this, because I know you're kind of asking me a direct combat question, is because you have to really understand that before I can go into that. There's a lot of stories, man, a lot of bad ones, and I mean, for me to just kind of spill my heart out about those things without really going into that, I don't think I could answer the question completely. Once after my unit, I got trained up. We got to be a real tight team. We had a real tight squad. We worked really hard. We learned a bunch of stuff from all these previous guys. Eventually, we shipped off to Ramadi. We spent a little bit of time in Kuwait working on vehicles and stuff. Getting everything up to par, getting ready, doing our last minute training, kind of just like, hey guys, this is the situation, this is what we're going to be looking at, let's get ready, this is how we're going to run the missions. We've done a lot of training at this point. At this point, maybe about a year, a little less than a year under my belt of, of actual experience of training. So you go to Iraq. You have no idea what to expect, You show up and you're on this plane, and next minute you're in a truck and they're trucking you somewhere, and you don't know. You just see desert all around you. Hey man, just like TV, right? The desert, video games. So I mean, we had no idea what to expect. It was we ended up, there was an IED in the road. It was my first memory from Iraq. There was an IED in the road, and we were all in these big trucks, maybe 18 of us, maybe more, maybe 20. And they have people that truck you in, that are looking for IEDs, because they obviously don't want to get you hit. People might know that you're coming in. So we stayed we were just parked for maybe an hour in the heat, just waiting, because they're like, yeah, we gotta clear out this IED. So it's just hot. You're just sitting in the truck, this sucks. What are we doing? We're in all this dumb gear. It's hot as heck out here. Let's just go out and fight somebody, And the other guys are they're like, hey man, can we get some water? And they're like, man, heck no, man. You guys get good. So we're like, all right. So that was my first memory. We got there, we unloaded everything, we set up camp in Ramadi at this base, and I mean, the next thing we know, our own guys that are units that are going back are stealing our stuff, so they're taking our own stuff, and our Bradleys got broken into, and they just, and it's a big thing. You want to have all your stuff back for the unit. You know what I mean? You go to Iraq with so many things, and then you lose stuff. Oh man, I don't know, I lost on a combat mission or whatever. So then when you're leaving, you got to have that stuff back, or else you're accountable for it. So what units will do is they'll be like, hey man, these guys just got here. These guys, we're gonna go rob all their stuff, man. So the upper guys will be like, hey man, I don't want to know about it, but we need this stuff. Got it, Sarge. So they go stole all the stuff. And, we took a bunch of our stuff. And so we started shorthanded, and a week later we were in the war zone. They took us over to this COP, which is a combat operating base, and I mean, we showed up, and the first thing that happened was this guy came on. Apparently, these were a reserve unit that we were replacing, and this guy shows up, and he starts walking out, and he's looking distressed, he's just like, oh man, this sucks, and they're like, oh, what's going on, and I'm one of the first Bradleys out there. I'm a driver at this point, so So I see one of our guys out there, Perez, and he walks up to Perez and he like hugs him, like he's like crying, I guess, like, and he hugs him and he's like, you know, hey man, I don't know what he tells him, I don't hear him, but you know, later the story is something like he said, you know, we just lost a guy today, you know, named Perez, and and he said that they'd never gone on day missions, you know, out there, and this day they had gone out on a day mission, and the guy got shot, you know, it sucked. So it was like, it's like I think may have been one of the only guys they lost, but it was kind of sad. It was like that's how we showed up, and it was about a month before we started seeing combat. Like I mean, there was like, you know, people shooting all the time. It's just, you know, always, but it was about a month after that Ramadan hit, which is it's like October, November, or something like that. I can't even remember. But Ramadan is like this big religious holiday for you know, the religion, the Muslim religion, and people don't eat. It makes people really upset, or maybe they're just ready for whatever. I mean, that's, you know, that's their religious beliefs and whatnot, or some people's in that certain part. And so they really like to fight, you know, during that time. So it was about that time. It was a day of power. It was one of the days. It's called the Day of Power. And they attacked us, and I mean, there was a lot of them. We knew they were coming. They were like setting up. You could see them, and there's nothing you can do. You can see them, and they're pointing to rooftops, and they're like, hey, we're going to go here, we're going to go there. And I'm looking at them like, oh, that's awesome, you know. But it's cool because you can see them. I mean, you know who the leader is, you know who all the other guys are. It's not like we all just ran at each other and we just start shooting, you know. It's like, no, these guys are going to attack us in a couple days. Call it up, let them know. Nothing changed. I mean, we still got the same kind of combat stuff. Sure enough, you know, I think it was a couple days later, and he just freaking hit us hard, man. I remember I was sleeping, and I was sleeping in one of the rooms because we had done 4 on, 4 off, like guard shifts. And you know, so you're asleep for 4 hours. You try to sleep for 4 hours, and then you wake up and you go and you get, you know, you run in a base because they can shoot you. We got a guy like shot in the arm and stuff on his way to his guard post, and you know, so you gotta just wake up, get your stuff on, run to where you're going, get ready. And anyways, they attacked us, and I woke up to like a mortar dropping on the building, and like all the glass blowing out everywhere. We were just rolling off my bunk, like off the little cot, throwing my stuff on, you know, just like I was used to it because we'd always like respond to gunfire all the time, so yeah, I was kind of used to this stuff. But this one was really, you know, just shook you. So I woke up and I was like, oh no, what's going on? You know, grab my weapon, and like everybody's running all over hell, you know, like you know, trying to figure out what's going on. And all of a sudden we heard this huge boom, you know, there's this fuel truck that like try to, you know, we didn't know if he had taken out our Bradley or not, but we went outside and there was this huge smoke, and just, I mean, it was just shocking. It was everything just boom, you know, stop what you're doing. And so so we had thought that we had lost this Bradley, which was 3 people at the time, 3 guys, and you know, $1 million Bradley or something ridiculous. That doesn't matter, I guess. But you know, everything started popping off. You know, there was just guns everywhere, firing, and it sounds like claps. Like, so all I heard was, you know, and it's just like, oh, like, what's going on? And so we're running from building to building, trying to figure out where to go, and you know, they got the leaders all like shooting back and telling us what's up, where we need to go. And bullets are flying by. Like, I tried to run out this one door, and it was just like, you know, just going by. And, I mean, you know, some sound like bees, some sound like claps. I don't know, it's crazy. So I mean, they definitely tried to have us locked down, because that was the way I was going out, was like one of the ways in between the building, and you could see that they had somebody set up in a certain angle in one of the buildings just to line that, just to like try to keep us from going out. And so you know, what I saw and what everybody else saw is all different. So I guess what had happened was this fuel truck had tried to bear down, and they were shooting RPGs at a couple of our cops. We got about 30 guys in a platoon, so we were manning all these guys with little outposts, like a two-man outpost, maybe an Iraqi Army guy and an American Army guy, and they were just hitting these, like 3 of them with RPG after RPG, and we were just firing machine guns at him and everything else. I guess one of the guys that knocked the guy unconscious, one of our guys, and this was like he was out after this, like he got hit real hard, and like luckily he was okay for the most part, just kind of like major concussion. But he was on the Mark 19, which is a grenade launcher, and there was a problem. Like he couldn't get back up. He was freaking out. I mean, he was been to the last war in Samara with the unit. So I don't know what happened with him, but the Iraqi Army, they think the Iraqi Army guy who was on the 7.62 was on the Dushka, or not the Dushka, was it the Dushka? No, I think it was just a 7.62. He just had the machine gun, and so Dushka's like a 50 caliber machine gun, and he had the 7.62, I think, though, and I think he hit the guy and must have scared him, is what we think, and he hit the bomb, and it blew up early, so it didn't kill the Bradley, which was good. But the rest of the day, we just took care of them all, and we didn't lose any guys. It was a really successful day. We did all right, and besides the guy who got the major concussion and this RPG and mortar after mortar, we did really good up there. We just had really good equipment, and we were real prepared. We were a good unit, so I think good platoon. And that was my first battle experience in Iraq. And that was maybe a month after we got there. So, if that gives you an understanding from right now, you guys going into the Army a year and a month later, you guys are in combat. So.
Did that experience make you snap into the mentality more of war, or were you already in like a war mentality, or did it prepare you for anything that came after?
The best way that I can answer that is, I guess you're ready when you're there. You're talking to everybody, and everybody's preparing you, as prepared as you can be, I suppose, mentally, physically. Things didn't really change too much. There was a shock. We knew we could all die at any point or whatever. I talked to one of my friends who passed away not too long ago in Afghanistan. I remember I was walking with him one night after, we had gotten a lot of stuff, by this. There was a couple of firefights at least, maybe 3 or 4. I don't know, not a lot of bombs. But he was the one in the Bradley that they tried to blow up. He was the driver, and there was only 4 of us. So he was my roommate for a long time, and I was talking to him, and he said, I think that the point that I started realizing that something changed in me was when they tried to kill me. He said the first time, is when somebody actually tries to kill you. So, if that's what you're looking for, maybe, I think that has stayed with me for a long time, and I think that may be true, because I think that's really what affected me the most, is when somebody actually tried to kill me, It makes you angry, makes you real mad, and I don't think that if anybody ever tries to do that again to you, you don't react the same way. You don't react the same way that you would if somebody hadn't done that to you before. Because you might be in shock. You might be like, wait a minute, I don't even know how to do that. But after you get all the emotions, you're just like, yeah, you don't do that. That answers your question.
Yeah, so did you make any friends in service that you keep in contact with today?
Yeah, absolutely. I got a friend in Pennsylvania I talk to almost every day. I got a friend in Oregon I talk to almost every day. I got a lot of friends. Facebook definitely makes it easier. But definitely got 2 or 3 of them that I talk to on the phone regularly.
How did you stay in contact with family and friends while you were in Iraq?
Well, I guess MySpace at the time. MySpace was a big one, the phones were hard, man, because everybody wants to be on the phones, and most of the people are the ones that are like, they got wives that are like, cheating on them or something. So you go in there and they're all like, "Oh baby, no, what's the thing?" It's like a crying fest every time you go in there. So it sucks. I mean, you're going for like 12, 15 months. Imagine having a girlfriend or boyfriend, and just them going for 12, 15 months. I mean, people move on. And so it was tough to be in the phones and stuff. So most of the time it was like the internet. You can have a little bit more privacy. You don't have to talk. You can just type. No one next to you knows what the heck's going on. So the phones, so there were waits, and it's hard to get a hold of people because the difference was like, I think it was like 9 hours or something like that, a 9-hour difference. So the time you're actually off and you're probably exhausted, to walk all the way to the phones, depending on how far it was, depending on how close you was, to the NWR. The longest walk I think I had was like maybe 15, 20 minutes. So the shortest was like right across the street. It really just depended on the situation you were in and the missions you were running.
Yeah. So what did you do in your free time while you weren't in combat?
Well, I spent time at the NWR. You get a laptop, play video games, watch a lot of anime and TV shows. I watch some TV shows, man. I watch all the TV shows. You just got a lot of time. I read a lot of books. I mean, you got a lot of time. Smoked a lot of cigarettes, which I wish I could go back and take that one back. But worked out. That's probably the best thing that came out of it. I just started to learn to work out. I used to be afraid to go into the gym, because I didn't know what to do or what I was doing. And when you're there, you can buddy up with somebody and they take you in there. And kind of changed my life, a little bit. Just being in shape and feeling good and keeps you on track. So that's mostly what I did. Those things.
Did you have a lot of duties around the camp while you were in combat?
Yeah, I did. I moved around a lot. There was different, I did 2 different deployments. Each deployment was different. The first one was a lot harder, in a certain sense. So we did a lot of sandbags. We did a lot of guard. Most of it was sandbagging and guard. It kept us pretty busy. Mission, preparing the track. When the track would get messed up, you'd have to spend hours working on it. I had a responsibility because I had the track. Mostly when you're like a ground guy, you're like working on the ground. It's fun. That's what I like to do, man. I was mad when they made me on the track. Because those guys, they get to walk around and like just hang out, and the walking can get tiring. Your legs get tired. You get beat. I did it quite a lot too, but I mean, you're on the ground. You see the people. You're with the people. You talk to the people. You get the real sense of it. When you're in the track, it's you're driving around a lot. You're in the Humvee, maybe driving. You're gunning. You're in the you're on the 240 on the turret, or you just have to do a lot of work. You have to make sure everything's tied down. You have to make sure the fuel's right. You have to make sure all those things are right. Everything. When you just imagine moving your car every day, having the PMCS it every day before you take it to school. I'm getting out there like you got to go to school at like 8, something like that. You got to get out there at 7. You got to you're already dressed, so 6:30, 6 o'clock. Depending on how fast you get ready. You go PMCS that car. Make sure that the tires are good. Make sure that the transmission fluid's good. Make sure that the oil's good. You're talking about something you probably do maybe twice a month, maybe if you do that even now. And then we did that every day. So, and then you got to make sure your gear's good. There's a bunch of stuff, man. A lot of work.
So you went back to Iraq after your first tour, right? For a second one. Did you have a reason for going back? Did you want to go back, or did you just?
I want to go back. My original contract was for a little over 3 years, but we ended up getting stop lost. So So my second tour, we went back to Kirkush, which was northeast of Baghdad. I believe it was northeast. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it was just it was totally different. We were with a whole different. The unit got reflagged, which means that we went from 126 infantry to 228 infantry, which was an Alaskan unit. I don't understand the politics behind that, but we were forced to wear new patches. We had new first sergeants. We had new. Yeah, everything changed. The direction of everything changed. And so this was a complete different deployment. Even though I was stationed at the same place, it was just, we had a lot of the same people, but when the leadership changes, everything changes. And I can tell you the difference between the leadership. It was going down there the first time with, kind of like war leadership, guys that were experienced, and in that, they were a little bit more relaxed to being really uptight the second tour, man. It was a horrible, horrible tour. It was just so horrible. Just imagine a bunch of tyrants. Just, God, I hate it. We didn't get in any like firefights the second tour. It was really boring. We hit some landmines most of the time. We lost some guys, but not like the first tour. Yeah, it was just mostly landmines and people setting up house IEDs where you like go to open the door and it blows up. So we lost a couple guys to that, but not nearly as bad. There was a lot of corruption in Iraq at that time. There was a lot of water rights corruption and stuff. We were trying to investigate. And the cops were trying to get in control of everything. The Iraqi police and the Iraqi army, they hated each other. So they were telling us one thing. I'd go down to the police station to everybody, and I'd be like trying to make sense of these, and they would just be looking at me like, "What are you trying to do, man? Like, don't shake the pot." And I'm like, "Dude, that's what we're here for." And it was very frustrating the second tour. It was coming to the end. The unit after us were the ones that closed down our base and started closing down the bases in Iraq. So it was just really hard to see all that happen because it was a mess, man. It was a total mess over there, and they were just waiting for us to leave.
Okay, so did you have, what would you say would be one of your more dramatic experiences, and how, what happened in those experiences?
More dramatic experiences. Okay. Well, a couple different things happened. There was a time I got hit by an IED. It was a hard night. We were doing a mission, and you're wound up really tight. Everybody's on you. Everybody's making sure everything's correct. It's just people yelling at you all the time, really wanting you uptight. Serious all the time. Your sense of humor goes away. A little bit. Starts drying up. We went out on this mission one night, and I remember this guy from headquarters, this buddy of mine, and he was talking about how he's going to go out. This is his first time. He's getting out of headquarters. He's going to go back to the platoon. He's going to go out and do this big mission that we were running. And I remember thinking, man, that is so stupid. He was asking for gear from other people so he could be ready. And I was like, why are they going to take it? Because they had taken me and thrown me in a Bradley, right before we got deployed. I had no experience in this Bradley. And I was like, why would you take somebody who's completely trained on the ground, the point guy, the best, one of the best guys, in my opinion, because I'm cocky, whatever. But why would you do that and just take him and put him in this track with no experience? Because that's just dangerous. It's just dangerous for everybody, And so, back to my point, this guy's ready to go out on a huge mission, one of the biggest missions we ran, most dangerous for sure. And he's been in headquarters for a year. I was just thinking why is this so dumb? So I went and I actually talked to my squad leader. I even mentioned it to the XO in passing, which you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to jump chain of command, But I was serious. I was like, hey man, this guy. My squad leader was like, he's an infantryman, he'll be alright. I was like, alright, dude, I respected the heck out of my squad leader, but I did not agree with what you were saying. And so I went and I kind of mentioned it to the XO who was in control of this guy, and I was like, hey man, why why are you doing this? You know, like, this isn't a good idea. And, just at least not on this mission. And, I don't know, he said something in passing, like, don't be jumping chain of command, like, don't make me report you or something stupid like that. Well, guess what? Guy went out and got freaking shot. And you know what? It might not have anything to do with that. It may not have nothing to do with the fact that he had been in headquarters for a year. But it happened. It just so happened it happened on the day that I was telling him not to do it. So for me, it was like really dramatic. And then that same night, like when we found out that it happened, like, 'cause we were all there, it's just an easy mistake, man. You just walk in the light. You just don't stay in the light. Don't be in the light. He might have learned that. I don't know. But he walked under a headlight, man. And just, the guy shot him. And so then we were going to clear out the path once we heard that he got shot. And I hit an IED, and so the track got blown up pretty good. I mean, not that bad, obviously. I'm still here. I don't have any damage. It was just we lost the track, so it was a bomb though. It was a pretty good one. And and so it was just really dramatic. It was an IA truck got hit next to me too. We had some guys maneuvering on us in the buildings. I'm on the radio. We were in the track on the radio, so you hear everything. So there's just a lot of things going on, and all of this stress, like, it just builds up, and plus, like, the guilt of, like, knowing that I said something, I knew it, they didn't listen to me. It gets very frustrating, and a lot of things happen like that. Like, I would bring something up, like, we're gonna lose a track here. Nobody listens to you. You know what I mean? They just, like, play your position, and sure enough, like, happened like 3 or 4 times. The things that I can actually, like, quote and be like, remember when I pulled you aside and said that this would happen, and then it happened the next day. Like, it's very frustrating. So the most dramatic thing right there, probably that story, involved with other backing stuff along with it.
So were you in the United States when the war ended? Or when you found out that the war was ending?
The war was ending, huh? Well, you mean we were pulling out of Iraq, for the most part? I guess what you mean. Well, the unit after me was closing down the bases in Iraq. So I had heard that we were going to do it while I was in Iraq, but it wasn't until I was back in Germany. I think I was still in Germany when they were actually doing it. But then I was in the United States when they actually made the complete, like, pulled out most of them, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
So it's a process,
Yeah. So towards the end of the war, how did you feel about the war on Iraq? Probably being able to understand it better at that point.
How did I feel about the war on Iraq? I don't feel like the war's over, first of all. This isn't a war that we were fighting. We weren't fighting Iraq. You know what I mean? Like, Iraq was on our side. We were fighting an idea. It was always my opinion, and this might sound a little judgmental, but it was always my opinion that it was like the Crusades, kind of. You know what I mean? If you guys know what that is. It's kind of like we're going over there, like, this is our way of life, and we think that you should be more like this, and we're trying to spread it around, and they're like, well, we don't like the way you do things, so, and the way we deal with that is whatever. I don't know, man. Some people have that idea, some people don't, but the war is, I mean, they're fighting in Afghanistan. That's where it started. You know what I mean? It was happening in Iraq because they were doing training or whatever there too. So I mean, it's in Libya, it's everywhere. It's in Pakistan. It's an idea. The war in Iraq it's just the war.
Do you think with all with war, with all its destruction, do you think it can be beneficial, or do you think it's something that we need to have?
Do I think that war is necessary?
Yeah. Do you think it? Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I think that's going to be a little bit of a weighted question, just because you're talking to somebody who did join the war after all. But I think that because of the way humans are, war is necessary for the time being. I mean, a lot of Americans have given their lives to sustain a way of life that we like. You guys, when I was over there, people weren't safe. Your family, there were some bad things that happened that I don't really want to get into, but there was some, with the people there, a lot of people got killed, like non-Americans, and it's sad to see that happen. I have no hate or dislike or distrust to any of those people in Iraq or any of the people that were over there. It's a lot of times it was really sad to see just people, human lives, just being wasted. I think it's very frustrating, and there's nothing you can do. You hate it because it's on your side too. You're doing it sometimes, and there's not a lot you can do. It's just the cost of war, like you guys were talking about. But the cost of war is there's going to be loss on both sides. There's nothing you can do about that. But there's always going to be people that will be willing to give their lives for what they believe in, and it's just a matter of what do you believe in.
Do you agree with the United States going to war with Iraq in the first place?
That's a tough question. It's a political question. I would always say, back in the day, like, I'm not a politician, I'm a soldier. I believe in America. Some people say, well, I'm a soldier, I don't believe in that stuff, but then people are like, well, you need to because Americans need to make choice and they need to drive politicians. So, injustice is a hell of a thing, man. When you see innocent people getting killed, or just being living under tyranny, you want to do something about it. You want to help them. The good thing is that most of us don't see that every day. We have lives where the tyranny is our parents. The tyranny is our teachers, or the jobs, the bosses. These things are horrible. We can quit, or we can leave, or we can. There's so many things that we can do, but a lot of times you don't have that same choice over there. You end up you make a mistake, and somebody makes you and your entire family pay for it, and I don't think that's fair. I think that if I was there and I saw those things happen, I think like many people do over there, they give their lives to try to fight those people that are doing those things, unfair things to other people. And I think that they're not organized, and I think a lot of them get slaughtered. And I think that America tries to be a great equalizer of people. They try to do what's right. I think that we're selfish in a lot of ways. We want to make sure that our way of life is still going on, and we sometimes take advantage of other countries. And do I think that's right? Depends on the situation. I think that we're a good country, best country on earth. I know a lot of countries. There's a lot of great ones, but I love America. If nothing else, because they're convenience stores. But yeah, I guess to answer your question, I think that we should have been in Iraq because I think that our president felt that we needed to be there, and I believe in the president a lot of times. Sometimes they make bad decisions, but I think everybody's human.
How do you think war impacts an individual person?
Depends on the individual. Depends on the situation. Well, I guess what I've learned, I can give you kind of a therapeutic answer. It depends. Did the person have a hard time growing up? Are they aggressive? Are they docile? Or did they do drugs? Did they do drugs? It has a lot to do with where they came from, how much trauma they had before going to war. If you knew exactly what you were doing, if you were like, I'm going to go to war because I'm super religious and just want to fight a religious war, then that's not going to give you a problem, because you know what you're doing there. Other people are, they're confused, they don't know what they're doing, or they just end up in bad situations. They do know what they're doing, and things just get too out of control. They end up in a bad spot, and they see a lot of bad things, and you can't go back. Once that happens, it sticks with you. And if you try to live the same life that you lived before, you might find that things have changed, that you can't do those things anymore. You can't enjoy those same kind of things. You have to change. And sometimes people have a real problem with change. They're not able to adapt to life after some serious trauma, especially the kind that you see you were at war. And others, like myself, have to deal with things, stresses and things that you saw, but it changed me because I feel that I'm a better American, I'm a better family member, I'm a better human being. I can't even shoot freaking animals barely anymore, man. Like, I can't, it's just, it's not because like some super traumatic thing, it's because you have a respect for life. Like, I don't want to go do that. Like, it's and I still go hunting. I like it sometimes, but it changes you, there's a lot of things that you don't understand because it changes you in ways that you just have to wait and hope that you can understand as time goes. I'm not sure exactly what the question was anymore, but I hope I answered it.
Yeah. How do you think war impacts a society as a whole?
I think it depends a lot on the media. I think it depends a lot on the propaganda, the idea behind the war, what we're fighting for. It stresses everybody out. When you have your sons and daughters over there, and bad things are happening, they don't come back. Everybody's going to try to justify it, but you're never going to be able to justify it. It's always going to be pain that you have to live with. And I think that pain grows, and I think that people join together, and people try to make it into a thing where like they're united by it. And when like an example would be like when 9/11 happened, it unified the people, brought them together. And you could look at that as the start of war, and what the costs were as opposed to what had happened afterwards was more of an addition as opposed to a subtraction, perhaps. That makes sense. So it changes people's in a lot of different ways.
Do you feel that war made you older or mature past your like actual age because of like being in Iraq? Do you feel older or more mature for your age?
Well, older and more mature. Wow. Remember how I was saying earlier that when you're in a serious situation like you have a lot of stress, it kind of kills your sense of humor a little bit. I think that's true to a certain extent. At the same time, I said also earlier that everything changes differently for people. For me, I'm not as funny. I'm more controlling. I was cynical for a long time. I still am, but I'm working on it. I feel like an old man sometimes, but I still play video games, man. I still do some stupid stuff, and I love it. But I definitely, it's hard. It's hard to tell what's actual, like what you would be going through on a regular without going through war basis. But if I was to contrast from my first deployment to after my first deployment and how I had changed, I would say that, yeah, I was spun really tight, man. Like, spun really tight. Like,
Imagine one of your guys' dads who's just like really like, ah. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. You just kind of unwind as the time goes by. You know, the stress starts to unwind you. As stress goes down, you start to become a little bit more young again, I guess. Stress makes you old, so I guess that's the best answer I can give you.
How was coming home after the war, or after your service?
It was good. The first thing I think of is man, thank God. I remember I watched Band of Brothers one time, and I remember when they were doing the Boston part. Like Boston was like when it was really cold there. You know, they were like part of Germany, I believe. That was it was just snowed over, and they were just living a crappy situation every day. You know, I can't even fathom. Well, a little bit, but not like they did. And the guy had said that he woke up, and still he wakes up to this day, and he looks over at his wife or whatever, and he's just like, thank God I'm not in Boston, or whatever he said, some quote. But I think about that all the time, I still do, because especially the first couple of years that I had gotten out, where, no matter what's happening to me, no matter how hard the schoolwork is, or whatever I'm doing, I'm like, at least I'm not there anymore, at least I'm not getting yelled at by some jerk who thinks he knows what's best. I mean, it makes life easier, and I think that that's the best answer I could give you, is that since I've been out, just
Yeah. Was it hard to adjust back to the civilian life in the U.S.?
Not as hard as it could have been. I think a lot of the vets from Vietnam and World War II, I had Korea. Korea, Forgotten Wars. These guys, man, nobody knows anything about Korea, man. These guys are some heroes, man. If you guys ever want to hear some real war stories, you guys read about Korea, man. Those guys, man. Anyways, it wasn't as hard because we had a lot of support. I think that we have a lot of support. I think that the VA does an excellent job. I think that it was difficult without the VA, and it was difficult even with the VA, which is Veteran Affairs. You want to do things a certain way. You've been trained to do things a certain way. You do things. You wake up. You do this. The system works this way. The right way of thinking is this way. The wrong way of thinking is that way. And you get out of the army, and then all of a sudden, the right and wrong is gray area, and it doesn't make sense anymore. And you try to do things the right way, but everybody's doing things the wrong way. You're just mad and frustrated, and you're like, why are you guys so freaking incompetent? Why can't you get it together? And pretty soon, you're just like freaking out so much, and you're driving fast, and you're like, get out of my way. God, you guys don't know how to drive. I'm like, I've been driving in war. I'm so cool, blah, 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 you just want to be in control. I was a sergeant, so, I was used to like, this is the way we're going to do it. This is the way it needs to be done. And that doesn't work. Nobody wants to be told what to do. So it's been a long process of trying to unwind and trying to get control of myself to a point where it's socially acceptable. And the VA has helped a lot, though. I think I really just need to give a shout out to them, like, no matter how many times, because they've given me therapy. I think that my relationship, I have a wife now, and we have a child on the way, but I don't think that I would have been able to hold our relationship together without some help. And they've helped me with that, dealing with it on a personal level. There's people that have volunteered to give us marriage family therapy, like in between me and my wife both. The VA has been great as far as the hospital. They give you health care, they take care of you. There's a lot of areas that they're there to catch you in case, to not see what happened to a lot of the Vietnam guys or the previous before them, Because it's tough, man. You see traumatic events, and that stuff sticks with you, and it can ruin you. And there've been a couple times when I came back where, before before I had gotten so established in my life now that I could see to like where the extreme would happen, where like you would just give up on everything and just say, forget it, I can't handle this anymore, I'm just gonna go off and do my own thing. Like super hyper conservative, man, where you're just like, I don't trust anybody, you know, everybody's out to freaking tell me what to do, and like you just want to fight control, and traumatic events just eat at you, you know, they just eat at you, and they can consume you if you don't get help sometimes. And, I think that they've changed a lot for that. They helped me.
Since you came home, do you feel like you're more respected by others, or
Yeah, absolutely. I think being a vet is an honor, and I think that there's a strong culture in America that puts a lot of praise on veterans, and I feel like it was one of the best things I've ever done in my entire life. You know, I mean, second to my wife and my baby is on the way. I should say third then. But I don't think that I would even be able to have those things if I wasn't, not in the same way at least that I could appreciate if I hadn't been a vet. If being a vet doesn't mean anything unless people give meaning to it. You know, and I think that people give meaning to it, and I think that we have Veterans Day, and people are out there like you guys, you know, here, guys and girls, you know, are here, you know, videotaping this and giving some sort of quality or importance to whatever the heck it was I did. You know, you guys probably look at it as a good thing. You know, some people might think of it as, you know, a bad thing. And I think that America looks at it as a good thing. I think God that they do, or whatever. I think America. So.
if you could change one thing about your experience in war or in the Army, what would it be?
If I could change my experience, I would change so much, you don't even know. You know, am I going to share with you? Probably not, it's probably unnecessary. If I could change my experience, how I viewed it. I don't know. No, I think that's a tough question. Just as far as cognitively how I feel about things. My experience. I think, I don't know. Maybe try to lighten up. Just let things happen. You know. Just do the best you can. I don't know how to do with that question.
Like, what about just like the organization as a whole, like the Army?
How would I change?
Yeah, like what would you change?
The Army? Okay, so that's what I was. Man, let me tell you about my last first sergeant. I hated that guy so much. Hated him so much. God, I hope they put this on TV and he's just watching, so I could just be like, I hated you, man. I don't think it was his fault either. I think it was probably just him trying to do the best he could under the freaking circumstances that the CEO was giving him. But man, I hated those guys. They made my life absolute hell. Absolutely hell. They all did, man. Life sucked, dude. Life sucked, but it's not because, it's like I always said, man, you know, you gotta go through hell to get to heaven, you know what I'm saying? So what I changed my experience was what you asked me earlier, and I said, well, I don't know, because you gotta go through hell to get to heaven. Would I change the Army? Yeah, I would make them less tyrannical. I really would. I would say, you know, you guys, I believe that you need to yell at people, I believe you need to do all those things, but I really think that you guys need to have a little bit more of a trial basis on understanding how people work, and saying that, you know, when things go wrong, maybe you should look at it a little bit deeper as opposed to just making quick judgments and saying, you know, maybe this person, maybe it didn't go down the way we think it went down, the way, you know, hey man, you should have played for class, you know, okay, that's punishable, I got that, but if something else happens, I'm trying to use an example, it might be a little bit, it might be worthwhile to like try to defend them, to think about what happened, to figure out how we could help this person, or do some, it's complicated, man, change the army, make them less like freaking, make them less assholes, man. Yeah, I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if war allows you to do that. Best answer.
So what organization or veteran organizations are you a part of, and what do they provide?
Well, organizations. I don't think I'm a member of any organization per se. Besides, well, I'm a vet. That's an organization, I suppose. They provide care, provide camaraderie, therapy. They provide, mostly, like I said, medicine, psychiatric help. I think you get like medical care for like 5 years. They give you the personal 11 GI Bill. You know how much I pay for Davis right now? Nothing. They pay for my Davis. They pay for it. Comes out to like over $4,000 every quarter or something like that. And they give me a check. I make like $1,800 just to go to school for a month. So I have a wife and I have a child, and I would not be able to necessarily. It's difficult to do work in school at the same time, especially if you want to take it really serious and you're like trying to hone your skills. It's possible. I got to take an internship and do a whole bunch of other stuff. I got to do that. It's freaking gonna get pain. And then try to raise your kid, and then freaking try to pay for childcare, and then have your wife working. Yeah, it's a lot, man. But the VA takes care of that a lot. They pay you. It's a good deal. It's a good deal. They give you a lot, man. Like I said, I'm proud of being American because they take care of you.
Are there any major experiences that directly affect your life or you, and how would they affect you?
Can you please say that again?
So, like, any experiences that would directly affect, that from war or maybe just your life, that directly affect your daily life or just your life in general?
Yeah, man. I can't barely sleep at night. Okay, so earlier I talked about how, I have like a really controlling personality now. Before I was in the military, I was real cool, man. Like, just real laid back, or people used to say all the time, real cool, man. Just real laid back, nothing really gets to you. Now it's like, on the ball, dude. Couldn't do school before, do it now, so it's good. It's hard to sleep. Some people say that PTSD is like a sleep problem, like a sleep disorder. And I remember there was times when I would be up on guard, and I would just be up, man. You know what I mean? Like, how do I put this in terms? You play Call of Duty? Not so much. So when you play Call of Duty, you know how you get really focused. Imagine being really focused like that. Like, I know this is gonna make you guys laugh. But all night, you know what I mean? Yeah, dude, all the time, bro. But just imagine it now, like, but if you get shot, you die for real. So we used to be on guard a lot, and I would just be really hyper focused, man. Just looking. Like, do you see something? And it's not like a video game where you can see somebody and it's like, hey, there they are, shoot at them. No, it's like, what's that? What? That? What? That little speck over there that you think could be possibly something moving. I don't know. What is it? I don't know. Is it gonna kill us? I don't know. Like, let's look at it for like a half an hour and decide whether it's going to kill us or not, or whether we should go kill it. I don't know. And so it's super serious, you know, and you have to find IEDs, and they're like under the ground, and you don't know. And then when they hit you, it's your fault, and oh god. So we used to do 4 on 4 off. So when you're sleeping for 4 hours and you're awake for 4 hours and you're waking up in the middle of firefighting, and like, you know, these things happen, your adrenaline kicks in all the time, it's going. Probably a problem with these Call of Duty games, but what happens is it doesn't go away, you know, like you get really good at it, and that's what makes you a good soldier. Like, that's what makes you a good soldier, is that sometimes my squad leader would be like a dirtbag, and he'd be like, hey guys, we're just gonna close up the vehicle tonight and not have anybody on guard because I don't think anybody's gonna mess with us. And I was like, no dude, you are ridiculous. It's like, if that's your order, fine, but I'm gonna stay up all night on that turret. And I was like, yo, kiss my butt, you know. If you wanna make that order, I can't tell anybody else what to do right now because you're the squad leader, but I'm not gonna do that. So I'll be up on that gun all night, you know what I mean? Like, because I don't wanna die. I don't want anybody else to die. And you know, it just gets burned into your brain. It just gets burned, you know, like habit. You're just watching, and then when something happens, you know, like, it's just photo, you know, like, but deeper than a photo. Like, it becomes who you are. So, so imagine you're at home now. It's after war, you know, you're not there anymore. And your dog's barking. What could it be? What is that? Is he gonna kill me? Should I go check it out? Yeah, well, I'll see you in 3 hours when you can go to sleep, because you just thought the wrong thought. You just thought that was something like Iraq, and it wasn't. But as soon as you go there, man, it's gone. Like, you know, you're in a different world. It's like 2 different personalities. Like, you know what I mean? I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but it's like, you know, for me, it's like Sergeant Ribiero, you know, and then there's me, you know, Dan. So if I go on a Sergeant Ribiero and there's something reminds me of the war, you know, it's like, I don't know, I get all controlling. I'm like super, let's get it done, let's go, no, forget it, you guys don't even exist anymore, this is what we need to do, the mission. Or I can't sleep at night, or I hear everything, or I see everything, or I become a good soldier. And good soldiers are not good people necessarily. Well, not always. I don't know. I can't speak to everybody. I hope that answers it.
Yeah. So would you say you learned any life lessons or anything life-changing in the service?
There's nothing more important than family. Ever. Like, people will abandon you, man. Like, always. Like, but, you know, what's funny is you can pick up family as you go. And, but it takes a lot. Most kids are innocent. Not all of them. People, I believe, are generally good. Everywhere I've gone, even the people that end up fighting us, I have a respect for them. Because most of them aren't bad people. Some of them are. I don't know. Most of them are good people, I think. Mostly family. I used to, I remember when I was there, I had a lot of friends before, you know. A lot of friends, a lot of people who just, I'll tell you what, man, as soon as I joined, I heard it all, dude, you know. Even my closest friends, like, you know, they think that they know something they don't know. Calling me, like, baby killer, or like, you're a pawn for the government, like, just joking around. Like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Like, how can you guys judge me when you have no idea what you're talking about? No idea. And I remember it just made me so mad. Like, and then what happens is you end up going there and you're gone for a long time. And you know, I was stationed in Germany. So you're making all new friends, and I'm really good at staying connected with people. You know, so I'll make a lot of phone calls and try to get a hold of people, and you know they won't answer. You know, they won't be there. You know, you could be going through a tough time or something, like, you know, hey, like, yeah, it gets bad over there. You know, it's been like, you know, 9 months I've been here, and you know, like, you start drifting away from the people that are there because, you know, just what else you got to talk about every day. So you try to call people at home, like, to say, like, hey, you know, I'm just feeling a little lonely or something, and they're not there. You know, their friends are gone. You know, if they have time. You know, if they have time. For you, this is it, man. You know what I mean? I'm having a horrible time. Like, this is bad. Like, we just lost a guy or something, and I just need somebody to talk to. And they're just, you know, everybody's got their own lives. But let me tell you what, man. Call your family. That's it, man. My mom, God. When I was in high school, man, me and my mom, dude, we hated each other, man. Like, we were always at each other, you know. I'd be yelling. The neighbors would be like, that young man is such a disrespectful SOB or whatever. I don't know what they thought, but we used to fight, you know, real loud and stuff. But let me tell you, man, when it's 3 a.m. in America, she'd answer the phone and she'd knock that tire right off. Like, you know, like, you imagine, like, Mom, get out of my room, I hate you. But then you call her at 3 a.m., it's for her, she's like, oh, I'm so glad to hear from you, thank God, like, it's something, man. It's something. That changed me. You know, just in my understanding of the way the world works. You know, when that happens every day, like, especially when things are bad, like when you actually have something to call about, like, and your friends, they fall off. The only ones that are there is like your family, and that becomes really important to you. And then when you come home. It doesn't matter about what you're fighting over anymore. Things change. Like, you know, your family's like, they're going into the same habits. You'll fall into the same habits again. You know, like, oh, you always tell me what to do. Stop it. You know. But then you're just like, it's like a permanent smile that kind of exists for a while. You know, just like, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you always tell me what to do. It doesn't matter if you freaking. It doesn't matter what you do, really. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter what you do anymore. I love you. Now you're stuck. Too bad now, huh? I hate you, I crashed your car, I sold it, I don't even care about you, you're a crappy little kid. I'm like, I love you. Too bad for you. You can yell at me all you want, but it's not going to change anything. Like, I'm not going to fight with you, or I don't want to, you know. You become, it builds what you call, I think, character. You know, it kind of says that there are things that you can truly believe in that are further than the reality that you might perceive at the time. I don't know if that's correct or not. I hope you guys all got that.
Alright, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.